start this recording. So we're going to have a look at doing revision. However, that depends on what you want to do in terms of revision. So today and tomorrow, it's 2 revision sessions. Monday is the 3rd revision session. Monday, I will be going through a past paper, specifically the 2021 past paper that's available on Eve. There is another past paper, the 2019 past paper, and if you want, there are Saturday boot camps, where one of our assistants will be doing that via Discord, because there's no venue available on campus for that to happen. But they will be going through the 2019 past paper in that hour or so. Obviously, they might not get through all of it, but they'll go through most of it in that time. So there's 2 past papers for you to do. Now, that doesn't mean you just watch me go through the paper and that's you studying. You hopefully have studied already before coming to today's session. And if you haven't, well, that's what the next few days are going to be, you studying for your test. As I've already mentioned, the slides are a summary that I created to present to you of the content in the textbook, content for the course. You need to have your own notes that you summarize yourself. Because if you just rely on the lectures, you are not going to be able to understand the questions that are going to be asked in the test. I am not going to ask you, please list 1, 2, 3, and then you get 1, 2, 3 in the test and you're done. You're going to have to understand code, concepts applicable to code, and understand what is going on with those different concepts. So over the weekend, or maybe tonight, tomorrow, whenever you want to, go and do the past paper on your own. Write your answers down for the past paper, specifically the 2021. That's what you're going to do on Monday. Because come Monday, the first person that's going to give you an answer is not me. It'll be someone in the class. And then we'll see whether they're on the right track or not. So if you don't do it, then there's no answers and then carry on to the next question. So you need to be prepared for what's happening on Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesday, the learning guide has been updated with the venue. I put a notice on Eve, notice on Discord as well, indicating the time of the assessment. We are in D1 lab 208. So D1, the first block in D lab. Second floor because it's 208, and that's a big assessment venue. Make sure you know where it is. Make sure you are there before the start of the test, because we start at the start time. We don't start letting you in at the start time. We start when we say it's 3:30, we start at 3:30. If you arrive at 3:30, you will not be allowed to into the venue until I've made the announcements. So you're wasting your own time. Another thing is, it's a written assessment. You'll be in that venue, and you only bring with you 3 things. You, pens, ID. I don't want to see tablets. I don't want to see bags. Cell phones, if you bring them in, they must be switched off. If your cell phone goes off during an assessment, that's a transgression, and your paper will be taken away. So rather leave it out. You don't need it. No calculators, you don't need them. If you want to bring a ruler, okay, that's fine. But no bags. If you have a wallet with you, make sure you don't have loose pieces of paper inside. No books, no textbooks. It's not an open book test. None of those things are allowed. Where do you put those things? There is a bag storage venue behind BLES. So behind BLES, there's a safekeeping venue. You go and give your stuff there. They give you a tag, and they'll put it into storage for you. When you're done, go there and give the tag in. You get your stuff back. If you are fortunate enough to have a car, put it in the car. Do not bring it to the venue. Do not leave it outside. If you leave it outside, it can grow legs and walk away. And in case you don't understand what that means, it can get stolen. We are not going to be responsible for that. You leave your stuff outside, no one's there to watch it. We are concerned with the assessment in the venue, nothing outside. So if you are there, you're there before time, so we can start on time, so that everyone can finish and leave on time. This is true for the practical test as well, and it's true for your third assessment as well. So make sure you are on time for the assessment by being at the venue before the start time. Okay, so another thing you might have seen for the assessments is that third assessment has been moved to a Monday because we don't have venues available on the Tuesday. It will be written during the assessment period and the lecture time, but that we'll get to when we get to that session. The practical tests at this point in time might be written on a Saturday, not my choice. We don't have enough venues to accommodate everyone because of COVID regulation. So the best answer that we could get was right on a Saturday. And if that's the case maybe, that's how it will work. But let's focus on the assessment at hand, summative assessment opportunity 1. And I said I'm going to go through revision. Now with revision, I can go and look at the lecture slides. We can go talk about the content all over again. Anyone here want to do that? Just read the content again. Anyone? You all say no. What do you want as revision then? I've never said anything about not using the attendance code for Blackboard people, so don't make that assumption. Okay, so I'm still waiting. What do you want me to do? Because I can go through the slides, I can tell you, okay, maybe this is important, maybe this is not important, but you need to know what I need to revise. I can regurgitate all the content again, say exactly the same thing again. Is it going to help you? I'm not sure, because I don't know what you understand and what you don't understand. Okay, so files, regular expressions, and how to make them sort of work together. Yeah. All right? Same thing. Anyone else? We're going through the question paper on Monday, after you've gone through it. Okay, upcasting and downcasting and class cast exception. So I'll just check if anyone said anything on Blackboard and go through the slides for regular expressions. Okay. So obviously I won't get through all of that today, but that's why we have tomorrow for. So let's see, what do we want to do first? I think let's go look at regular expressions again. So with regular expressions, it's very important that you understand that regular expressions are another language to describe patterns. Patterns of what? Depends on what you are looking for. When we write out regular expressions, we usually refer to character classes, and character classes are for a single character in that expression. Let me get Notepad ready. So if we write a specific character in a regular expression, so if I write the character A, that means we are looking for the pattern exactly A somewhere in our expression. What is our expression? The thing we are comparing against. So if we have the word that, and we're looking at the regular expression A, it will highlight or it will match that character at that position. There are ways we can alter this. We can change how it matches. Does it match the whole thing? Does it just match a section? Not going to worry too much about doing all of those different things. But that's how you write a single character expression. Now, if you want to write something that can look for more than one character at a certain position, that's when we start using square brackets. Square brackets will indicate that we are looking for multiple things that exist at a single location. So those square brackets mean at one character space, we can find any number of things at that location. Question? It depends on the question. The question will state, write a regular expression or fill in the code or write code. If it's write a regular expression, you write out the regular expression. If you're writing code, then you need to know to remember to put your double backslashes in the Java strings. So it always depends on the context of the question. Your question will state what it requires at certain locations. If it says provide code, you provide code. If it says give you a regular expression, you give a regular expression. Always read your question. That's very important. Read the question. Don't write an answer after reading the first two words. Make sure you understand the question. If you don't understand the question in the test, you raise your hand and either myself or Mr. Sutunga will come past. One of the assistants will be there. They'll redirect to me and I'll be there to assist you in your understanding. Don't ask me what the answer is. I'll just shrug my shoulders and walk away. But if you don't understand the question, I can help explain it to you. If the question says, please define, and you don't understand what that means, I'm going to walk away. Define means you need to give what is that thing. Define what that thing is. Say what it is. Question at the back there first. Fine, okay. This, yeah. Okay, so let's just put this in the order that you might see on those helper websites that I talk about. So this is your, I'm not going to type out full thing, but this is your regular expression. And this is the thing you want to test against. So this is a character class because it's got that square bracket that defines a character class. So that pair of square brackets says I am looking for something and I am looking for an A. If I put something else in there, that means that at that certain position, I'm looking for an A or an E. So it won't make much sense here, but it will match either that one or that one. We can change this to be matching exactly that. So what this regular expression says, I want a T followed by an H followed by the character class AE, which says either TH is followed by an A or TH is followed by an E, and the last character should be T. In which case there, that will match either one of those strings there. It's just one character class. Whatever's between those two brackets, that is just one character class, unless I use a quantifier. Quantifier says I want to have 1 or more, 0 or more, so many, etc. So depending on which character class you use here, which quantifier you use here, it will match that many times. So for example, if we look at question mark, if I put a question mark here, then that says match this once or not at all. That's what it says here, once or not at all. So this will also match that string because it doesn't match A or E, so not at all. But if I do something along the lines of plus, So if I change this to a plus, it means it has to match at least one time, but it can be more, which means it won't match this, but it can match something like that string or that string. Because I'm saying this character class can exist one or more times. Does that make sense? Okay, so in the character classes, inside those square brackets, you can have extra notation. Most of the time, we will just be using a dash to represent a range. So here you can see there's A-Z. That basically means all the characters lowercase a to lowercase z match everything there. Uppercase A to uppercase Z match everything there. If you have the exponent symbol here, that's basically negating your selection, whatever comes afterwards. And you can do unions and intersections and subtractions. Most of the times we don't do that. Then there are special character classes, which basically is just shorthand. So \d, that's shorthand for writing character class 0 to 9. So wherever you have character classes 0 to 9, so if my regular expression was something like this, instead of writing it out like this, I can write it out like that. It means exactly the same thing. It's just a shorter way of writing it. It allows me to write cleaner regular expressions so it's easier to understand what's going on. It's not exactly relevant to what we're doing here, but the question was, if you are asked to compare two things, can you write it in a table as opposed to writing it in a discussion form? Do what the question says. If the question says tabulate the differences, you write the table. If it says discuss, you discuss. If you give a table and ask you to discuss, you might not get all your marks. Because if it says compare two things, discuss similarities and differences, you're just listing things in the table. How do I know what's similar and what's different? You need to discuss what is similar. You need to discuss what is different. Question? Normal brackets as in round brackets. Round brackets means something completely different in regular expressions. It talks about grouping. So usually use grouping in the example where we did the dates. We use grouping to indicate a group of a sub-regular expression, so a sub-part of a regular expression. So we group things. There is more complex uses of groups, but we're not going to discuss that right now. If you put round brackets here, that, well, regardless of where you put it, that means something completely different. That's something completely different. That you are matching a group where the group is exactly the characters A, E. It's not matching A or E at one location. It's matching two characters, and they have to be exactly A, E. So if you want a single character, it's going to be those square brackets to match a single character with whatever you want in between those square brackets. There was another question somewhere here. No? All right. Okay, so one of the questions was talking about, do you need to memorize the character classes? Well, it depends. Do you want to write out 0 to 9 or that every single time manually, or do you just want to write /d and /w? It's up to you. You can ignore the character classes, write everything by hand, but if you make a mistake, then that will be something that might cost you a mark or two. It's not going to cost you the whole question. We always look at what you write down, and then we'll mark accordingly.
So what this question was with the brackets, if we had to put the brackets with the 0 to 9, does that mean that you should be looking for a character that says exactly this, that 0 is equal to 9, or all those numbers? What?
Start, match exactly 0-9 end. You have to match exactly that because that's how you put the brackets. You can put. Okay, I'm going to take out these things because it doesn't really matter for our purposes. So yeah, it matches exactly those characters. But if I match, let me take out that bracket, then you can see it matches one of 0 to 9. Totally different meaning.
Just out of interest, in the single word character class, the expansion of it, so I guess the non-short version, does the underscore indicate a loop for which you're checking the previous expression?
Are you talking about this underscore over here?
Yeah, is it saying A to Z or capital A to capital Z repeated 0 to 9 times? Or?
That underscore literally means underscore.
Oh, wow.
So if you look at this, I'm not sure if it will be correct in this implementation because remember there's different flavors of JavaScript. But yeah, there you can see one of A to Z, dash, and then 0 to 9. Okay, so it matches that exactly for those situations. Okay, so then the quantifiers, we spoke about question mark, then there's asterisk, 0 or more times, so once or not at all, 0 or more times. Plus means once or more times. Then when it comes to the curly braces mean, depending on what you type in there, it means different things. If you put, for example, okay, let's get rid of this. So if you put /d and /d, remember that's zeros, numbers 0 to 9. If you say /d4 in the curly brackets, quantifier of 4, it means I'm looking for /d 4 times. So I'm looking for numbers 0 to 9 4 times. So that will match things like all zeros, all nines, or any other combination where each character can be 0 to 9. If I put a comma and I don't write anything afterwards, it means it matches anything that's at least 4 digits, but it can be more. So if I do that sequence of 5 nines, or however many number of digits, as long as it's 4 or greater, it will match perfectly fine. Then the last type of syntax is if I put another digit at the end there, so 4, 6, that indicates I want /d to appear at least 4 times, but maximum 6 times. So that's the different quantifiers you can have. There are some reasons for doing this. We can't do every single regular expression example. I can't show you every single one, but there are reasons for this. When you see your semester test, you will get asked to do a regular expression. 100% guarantee there will be a question where you have to write out a regular expression. There will be examples for you to test against your regular expression. It will say something along the lines of write a regular expression for, and it will show you a list of examples, and your regular expression has to match that specific list. It doesn't have to be the same character value. It can be anything as long as it matches 0 to 9. Each digit matches 0 to 9. Then you get very complicated regular expressions. If you don't want repeated digits, then you have to write a very complicated regular expression. That involves grouping and backtracking and forward tracing, and that's not what we're going to discuss here. Regular expressions could be a whole module by itself, let's put it that way. So we're not discussing any of those things. We're going to keep our regular expressions simple, and that's what you'll get in the test as well, simple regular expressions.
So, there's only one answer to the regular expression, but it doesn't surprise me. Because, like, for example, when you say, 4, you put a comma and say that 4, then, like, in terms of, like, pattern, this will have to be specified that it's either 1 or more. Then that's, yeah,
so reluctant and possessive quantifiers, again, those are advanced concepts. They're here just because we want you to know about them, but we're not going to talk about when to use them. If you want to optimize your regular expressions to be faster, because it takes time to process a regular expression, then you would use reluctant and possessive. But we're not going to worry about how fast our regular expressions are because we're writing relatively small regular expressions.
So if you put a plus in front of this,
Yeah,
put a plus at the end, then what?
I'm not going to discuss it. It's a complex topic. I'm not going to go into it. It's not relevant for your test. I can show you, you can ask me afterwards where you can get information on that, but I'm not going to discuss it in class. Okay, so we've seen most of what you need to know in terms of the theory behind regular expressions. The next part is how to do it in actual code. When you're writing code for regular expressions, and there will be a question where you write code in your test, when you're working with regular expressions, there's a few things. Let me get the IDE because this will be nicer to see here. There's a few things that you'll always be using when you're working with regular expressions in Java code. The first thing is getting your regular expression to be a pattern, and that's through the pattern class, specifically pattern.compile, that static method that will create a pattern instance that you can use to test a string against. How do I test a string? You obviously have a string you want to test. If you've got a regular expression, you want to test it somehow against something else. Where that string comes from, it depends on the question. You might get asked to write a method where the method will take in a parameter, which is a string, and in there you need to test that string. It might be an array of strings. This example here uses an array of strings. It might be a member of a class. It might be an instance member of a class. So you have to use get something and get a string from there. It might be reading it from a file. All depends on the question. However you get that, you have a string you want to test, you have a pattern that you want to test it against. So here, make sure you have your pattern compile, make sure you have a regular expression, make sure you don't forget your double slashes because this is a Java code. We put double slashes. And wherever you have your string, you take your pattern, create a matcher instance from that by passing your string as a parameter to the matcher method. That will create a matcher instance, and then you can use dot matches to return true or false, whether it matches or whether it doesn't match. So when you're writing code, you need to have your matcher, need to have your string, use those two. Need to have your pattern, need to have your string, use those two to create a matcher, and then with your matcher, test whatever you need to test. The question will tell you what to do. Question might say, if it passes, do nothing. If it doesn't pass, write it to the error string. See what your question is asking, do what it says. If the question says, write a method, don't go write me a full main class. write the method, because you're only getting marks for the method. If the question says, write a file, and you give me code for reading a file, how many marks do you think you're going to get? Nothing. Maybe you'll get 1 mark for using a file handle. I still look at that kind of things. If you get the name of the method correctly, when it's in the question, please name the method this. If you write that, I give you a mark for that. You'd be surprised how many people get that wrong. Make sure you read your question, answer what is being asked. Don't do extra things. Okay, so the question was about string.format and system.out.printf. So system.out.printf is just printing a formatted string onto standard output. String.format, that just creates a formatted string. It's a string reference. You can use it in your code wherever you need to be. You can write that to a file. You can display it on system out. You can display it on system error. It's just a normal string. Okay, so that was one topic we had to look at, was regular expressions and theory behind regular expressions. We still have to look at it in the context of working with a file. But are we fine now with regular expressions? Anything else to do with just plain old regular expressions? Don't see any questions here. I'm not going to be able to read all the comments on Discord, on Blackboard, but we can have a look. Okay, so then we have to look at working with files. So we did cover working with files. Okay, let's just do it in another class. So let's go create another class. New. Okay, so one question I got from someone during the week was, do we have to do everything in main? No, I just do it in main because it's easy for me to show you code. If you want me to create 10 classes and then go through the process of calling all those 10 classes, I can. However, I think that's wasted time. I'd rather just show you the code that's relevant. You can put it in whatever method you want. Obviously, it depends on the context of what you need to do. So when you want to work with a file, let's write a file and then read that exact same file. So we're going to do 2 methods for this. Let's create those 2 methods. And again, because I'm working in main and because main is static, that's why my method is static here. So when you're working with files, you have to import. Now, usually when I ask you to write code, I will not ask you to do imports. I will tell you all the relevant things have been imported. Don't worry about it. Write the method, just do the method, nothing else. So obviously, we need a file handle to work with. Where does this file handle come from? Well, if we're working with a project that it conforms to the standard, we're working with something that's going to be in the data folder and a file inside of there. So we're just going to make a test file that we're going to use. And with that, we're going to write the file and then read it right afterwards. So that's just to test the code we're going to write for reading and writing. I do say I have only 3 minutes left, so we're probably not going to get through the whole thing. So in order to write a file, what do we use to write a file? Print writer. You could try and write byte by byte. You can't do that. We'll see that when we get to working with binary I/O. But something that is human readable text, we can use a print writer for that. Again, make sure you import that print writer. We have to declare it as null because we need to have a finally block, or we can do the nice way. Let's do the nice way rather. Let's code to type. We can use the automatic resource management. And we can pass that handle as a parameter. So that will automatically close our file handle, our file when we're done working with our print writer. So we can write out something just by using print, print line, just like you use system out, the same kind of text stream that you're working with. Then there is something else that you'll learn about more in detail when you get to working with network streams, and that's flushing your stream. So if you know toilets, once you're done, you flush and sends the things along. That's exactly what you're doing here. You put things into the stream, flush, and send it along. And because we've done automatic resource management with our try statement there, everything should be done there. If we run this code, we won't see any output because we didn't write anything to do output. But what we should see is in the docs folder, we have something that says, this is a test. Note there's a new line there. We have 2 lines in the file because we use print line. Print line prints the thing. New line, that's why we have 2 lines in the file. If I change that to be print as opposed to print line, remember the file gets overwritten. And there you can see it's only 1 line now. So print line, print new line, and otherwise print leaves it on the same line. So that's writing. We're still going to do reading. We're still going to use it with regular expressions. I have looked at this concept already in the previous tutorials. Tuesday's tutorial, I did look at this, but we will go through it again tomorrow. So if you do have any questions, I'll be here in the front until the next people come in and chase us out. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. If you have more things you want me to go through, tell me about them either tomorrow or you can do it in the Discord chat. Yes.
I wanted to print the file in this format, you have to say print F and then format.
Yeah, so there is a print F method available. The only thing you need to remember with print F, it's the same like print. It doesn't put a new line. So in your formatted string, you can put a new line in there to make sure you get the new line.
Instead of saying this new line is test, you just use a print F and then to format it in string and then say what you want.
Yeah, so format strings you usually use if you want to try and concatenate different strings. So that's why you would do something like that.
There you go.
All right, so some questions about regular expressions. Okay, so this number here, if you want to match a number that's 6 digits long, you do it /t6, that will match 6 digits. If you want to match two sets of 3 digits, then you would do /d and then 3 times, and you put that whole thing in a group, match that twice. That's 2 ways you can do that. If I remember, I'll have a look at that in tomorrow's lecture/tutorial. Okay, I'm going to end the session.